Hey, today I have a story to tell. Actually, two stories. I'm going to let you know about I don't know if these are the worst, but these are currently the most memorable stories I have from working as a flight attendant. Normally, I would keep these stories to myself or just gossip amongst my fellow flight attendants, but the longer I carry on in this career field, the more important I think it is to let people know what it's really like, especially people who might potentially want this same job, might idolize or might idealize this particular lifestyle and career field. I love being employed. I appreciate my job, but it's not what I thought I was getting when I signed up for it. So I want to make sure that if anyone else starts going into this field, they know exactly what they're signing up for. One of the things that irritates me the most about working as a flight attendant is that I have to be professional at all times. And something can happen to me as a direct result of my job, and I still have to carry on like everything's fine. I have to be polite, I have to be respectful, I have to be sweet, I have to smile. It's part of my job. By the way, I'm wearing this hood because it's really stinking cold right now. We are in the midst of a freeze here in Texas. It hasn't hit yet, but it's supposed to tonight, so it's cold and I'm trying to stay warm. So, some of the things that have happened to me while working. First of all, I want to say it was 2023, or it might have been early in 2024. There was a flight in which a man was wheeled up to the aircraft in a wheelchair, so we can assume he probably has some kind of disability. In particular, he was concerned because his seat was somewhere quite far from the restroom. We were flying on a 321 Airbus, which is our largest plane. And his seat was around row 29. No, his seat was around row 24. There are about 40 seats on that plane, so whether he went to the front or the back, the bathroom's about, give or take, 20 seats away from him, right? It's far in either direction. He wanted to be closer to one of the bathrooms, but unfortunately, it was a full flight. Actually, I'm not even sure if it was a full flight, but all I know is he didn't get that seat. So, he went to the bathroom a few times during the flight, and it was all fine and dandy. Everything was okay. Until we were about, I want to say, 45 minutes away from our destination. And things suddenly were not okay. He came rushing down the aisle, and a smell arrived shortly after him. Now, at first we thought, he didn't quite make it to the bathroom. There's poop running down his leg. That's embarrassing. That's uncomfortable. Unfortunately, he didn't make it past row 29. There was, in fact, poop running down his leg and falling into the aisle all the way from row 29 to row 40. That's right. We had poop down half of the aisle of the aeroplane. Not half, but a lot of it. And let me tell you something. Do you know who has to clean that up? Do you know who has to clean that up? Not me, but my fellow flight attendants did participate in the cleaning up of the great fecal event of 2024. Was it 2023? I'm not sure. I assisted in keeping people out of the aisles at that time. I was the run and go getter, the person who, if they said more gloves, more wipes, more spray, more coffee, I ran and go to get those things because I'm not cleaning up poop. I'm convinced that I don't make enough money to do that. And no. And if you're wondering why we had to do that at all, imagine being on an airplane, aisle full of poop, and then we land, and no one has cleaned it up. Then guess what happens to it when everyone starts getting their suitcases down and has to walk through those aisles to get off the plane. Yes, it would have been much, much worse. It would have been disgusting. So as much as I protest and say I'm not cleaning that up, but honestly, if it had only been up to me and one other person to clean it up, yeah, I would have. If I had to, I would have, because the alternative is so much worse. Thankfully, we did have a couple of flight attendants who were willing and able, and they did the majority of the disposal process. We cleaned as well as we could. There was some cleaner stuff on the plane, and then we sprinkled coffee over it at the end so that it doesn't stink like shit on the airplane. But long story short, this could happen. It's a plane. And when something gross happens on the plane, you're stuck on the plane in the flight with the gross. So, keep that in mind if you're trying to be a flight attendant. Not like this happens all the time. It's only happened once to me in my flight attendant career of almost 4 years. But if you ask me, once is too many times. Another thing that has happened, this happened last week actually, on one of my last trips. I was not really doing service. It was before we do our cart service and come through the aisles with carts selling drinks and snacks before that, but in the air. And one guest at row 4 had rang the call button. I already knew they're probably asking to get a snack. And then I tell them politely, oh, we're going to come through and do service in just a few minutes if you'll give us a little bit to set up, blah, blah. So I'm leaned over row 4 trying to assist, right? A gentleman from around row 7, 8, he's trying to use the bathroom. Mind you, seatbelt sign is on, so nobody's even supposed to be up. But he's kind of elderly. It's not very bumpy. I'm not going to stand in his way because, one, my job is just to tell him that the seatbelt sign is on, not to physically stop anyone from using the bathroom. And two, I've had the experience of the Great Poop event of 2023, so I'm not about to get in the way of some potentially disabled person using the bathroom. I'm going to let them go. So with that being said, I did think the man would be polite enough to wait for me to move out of his way. He did not. He slid his entire body against my backside while I was leaned over trying to talk to the person in row 4. I snap upright because what the hell are you doing? That's my butt. That's my body. I feel violated. I turn to look at him because what the hell are you doing? And this man gonna look back at me with a look of disgust, like, bitch, you was in my way. That's how he looked at me. He looked at me like he had the right to push up on me like that. Sir, that's assault. But the part that made me the angriest is feeling like I couldn't stand up for myself in that situation. Because he deserved to be cussed out. Because I don't care what is going through that mind of yours. Yes, he's an older gentleman, but I am a woman. There's no reason you should be pushed up on me, even if it was somehow that he didn't do it on purpose. I believe he did it on purpose. I believe he slid against me on purpose to feel my body. But let's just assume that he didn't. He still should have just waited for me to get out of his way because I am a person. I'm a human being. And not only did I feel like I couldn't stand up for myself, I also felt belittled. I felt objectified. And if I were to have stood up for myself, maybe I would lose my job. Would my airline even defend me? And maybe they would. I really don't know, do I? But it's the fact of feeling that way. No, there are plenty of people who would stand up for themselves anyway. I honestly wish I had. Because if I lost my job that way, it would have been worth it. I think so. because at least I would know that I defended myself and stood up for myself, and I didn't let somebody walk all over me or literally assault me in the air. But here we are. I didn't, and I feel bad about it. And that was just last week, so I still feel bad about it. Other things that have happened in flight include like medical emergencies. There have been other incidents and exciting stories, sure, but those are the two biggest, most awful things that I can think of right now at this moment. So if you'd like to hear some of the smaller stories, send me a comment and let me know. But I just wanted to tell you about this because I want to make sure that you know what you're getting into. If you become a flight attendant, you too will have to deal with gross things sometimes. People throw up on planes, people poop on planes, people bleed on planes. And sometimes you have to deal with rude, insensitive, or entitled people who think that they don't have to treat you like a human being because you are at work. So, as long as you keep that in mind. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. So, bye.